Welcome to the Nausea River podcast. I'm Theo Morgan, and summer gloom is the gift that keeps on giving. So let's talk about it. Maybe the It is getting official dates for the 2026 edition, August 6th, 7th, and 8th if you're curious. It was a wonderful affair last year, as I spent the weekend with many friends and scant few enemies. No less than 2 attendees came due to my endorsement of the fest, and I think I can bump those numbers up. At least I convinced the boyfriend to commit to it this year. But enough about me, what about the music? Who was the best act that week anyways? Trick question. I don't pit friends against each other. I mean, I was very excited for the Keening since a solo Rebecca Vernon show was the closest I could get to seeing Sub Rosa live. But apparently that band is unfinished business, and I have a theory to put to the test. Moving on, I certainly have my pick of bands to bother from that weekend, and it's easy not to recognize any of the names on the poster and think it's all scrappy local doom metal, but the amount of polish on display is pretty astounding, and let's be clear, it's post-rock too. I love post-rock. What are we even doing tonight? Anyways, I always start with an intro. I'm Theo. Who are you three?
Hi, I'm Kyle.
I'm Dylan.
It's like, who's next, right? I am Cliff.
Top to bottom.
And what is your band?
Our band is Lesotho.
We play in Lesotho, which is Americanized. It's actually properly pronounced Lesotho, but...
Meet Kyle Lafredo, Cliff Cazzo, and Dylan Firth of Lesotho. The band, not the country. Lesotho had a spot in Summer Gloom's oft-forgotten first night, a wonderful cascade of shoegaze and post-rock and post-punk that suffers from being on a Thursday, and the suffering was minimal since Deep Cuts was absolutely packed. As a fan of God as an Astronaut, I enjoyed their set a lot. I wish it was even longer. There are lots of good things for Lesotho on the horizon, including their upcoming album, Flashing on Plain Glass. And we have a lot to say. I hope you enjoy. Yeah, that's how I was saying it to everyone, because, like, I got in so many mixed info about how to pronounce your name from like other people who just knew who you were. And I'm like, you know what? They have to come on the podcast and clear that one up for me.
Clear this up.
So fun fact, I'm pretty sure that when we started the band, that nobody in the band at that time was aware that Lesotho was actually a country.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what was going on with the name. It's weird because, like, I mean, I know about the country because, like, I love looking at maps, and it's one of those kind of, it has enough fun facts about it. Like, it's enclosed by South Africa, and it has, like, Sub-Saharan Africa's only ski slopes and all that. But, like, I don't know where you'd hear the name organically and not hear also that's a country.
Yeah, that was kind of the vibe that we got. I mean, because what was it? Was it like a gym leader in Pokemon that like has the same name?
Yeah,
like I forget exactly. I forget
Zach
which one it was, but yeah, and we just thought it sounded cool, and we're like,
okay,
hey, like that's a name.
So that was brought up in an earlier interview with Dylan from 8 Foot Manchild. He's like the post-rock band Lesotho, and that's how they pronounce it because it's after something in Pokemon. And I tried to fact check him, and I couldn't find anything. And I'm like, is he pulling my leg?
I've never fact checked it, but
I never
looked it up or
fact-checked it
seen the
either.
post.
Yeah, our original drummer, Zach, had like I think was like in the middle of a Pokemon game at the time, and then was like, hey, like this, like I just went up against this person, and they're named Lesotho, and I thought it sounded cool. How's that sound for a name? And we were like, cool, whatever.
Yeah, we just
and this was
for like months,
middle of the pandemic.
Yeah,
like just exactly. We like played
middle
our
of the
first show.
pandemic.
Like
Everyone's lying to you anyways.
Yeah, and we just rolled with it because we were like together kind of writing music for like a year, and then before we actually like played a show or anything. So it was kind of like, yeah, this is what we're kind of going by, and then it turned into 5 years later. We're still cooking the same.
Yeah, I've gotten the COVID origin story from like probably at least 5 bands at this point.
Oh yeah.
Like if nothing else, it was like
it was a creative renaissance for the Boston music scene.
Sure
Oh,
was.
for sure, for
Like
sure.
the
I mean,
baby boomer
especially
thing
for me,
of
I didn't
bands.
even like I couldn't tell you anything about a signal chain or bass before the pandemic, you know. It was like just kind of a necessity to keep playing music. You know, because originally, you know, really the seeds of this project come from myself and Kyle, and I was playing drums at the time, and
Mm.
he was still playing guitar, and we were trying to put songs together that way and working with different guitar players or bassists, etc. And yeah, eventually what happened was the guy who was playing bass for us at the time, we had written a handful of songs, um, and actually even did like a house show. And then after that, that person, he had lived like super far away, I think in like Westford, Mass, which was like super far from us. And so, you know, and I believe like lived with some people who were like high risk of exposure. So he just couldn't meet. Whereas like Kyle and I were a little geographically closer. And at the time I was working in a hospital and getting tested frequently. I had to get tested every day to go into work. And so he and I, we just kept meeting and kept writing music. And then I think one day I just brought a guitar and hooked it up to our bass player's amp. And then we were like, yo, like these songs actually sound really cool. And then, yeah, 5 years later, here we
Yeah.
are, right?
Did it start as like a post-rock project, or did you have something different in mind when you started?
And we definitely started as like, like listening back to like the first EP that we did with those songs, was like 4 songs. It was like very much like post-metal, black gaze, like sludge influenced, because I think Cliff just carried right over from his sludge influence, and then I was like really hot on like black gaze at the time and was just like I thought that that was like the direction I was just gonna do for for forever, was just head down the black gaze sort of style of guitar and writing and stuff like that and composing that way. But it didn't end up like it ended up turning more and more into like just my roots, like what it was just post rock, as the main through line through it all. Um, but yeah, it's just crazy because it just and then this record that we're doing, it's just I think it's more in line with what like we wanted to do. But it started off very like black haze and sludgy.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I know around that time I was super like just now getting exposed or just around that time getting exposed to a Def Heaven. That was my first time kind of checking them out.
Mm.
I think you had recommended Sunbather to like listen to. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like blast beats, but
Yeah, it was
like
that in
super dreary,
Alcest.
melodic.
Yeah, it
Like I
was
was
that
like,
in
okay, this is cool.
Alcest was like
Yeah.
one of my favorite bands at the time. They still are. They're amazing. So I love going back to them for inspiration, but I don't know. I write a little bit more towards the post side of things, I think, in how I started playing guitar and everything like that.
yeah, so in my research, I didn't look into what any of you did in the past. In any order, like, could you all just like briefly like go past any past bands or experience in music?
Yeah. That's kind of what I keep referencing. And
Yeah.
when I was in college, I was in a post-rock band and I just like did that for like 5 years and wrote with another guitarist, and that's just where I had my come ups and it was great. And then transitioning to this, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll spread my wings and like do a darker kind of thing or whatever. And Cliff definitely helped that because he's been in sludge bands and shit. So, but I'll let Cliff take it over.
Yeah, I mean, basically all my past projects, which was really just one, is actually still semi-active. So I play drums in a sludge band called Cazador. And so
Oh.
that's pretty much where where my background is. It's like more of the heavier variety, like sort of Old Man Gloom with a little bit of Converge Chaos, but then also with some melody mixed in. Our bass player, who's also our vocalist, plays keyboard, and we have some really cool like synth sections.
Mhm.
So we're just a little all over the place, which I mean, I've always had a pretty eclectic musical taste. Like I tend to operate in the extremes, which is, I think, why Kyle and I connected so much was because I was just so ingrained with what I was doing with Cazador and like the heavier, distorted, crazy, just sort of more bold side of things that when Kyle and I first started jamming together, I really started to sort of get a grasp of like just like the definition of post, which I
Loud,
guess
soft, loud. Yeah, it's like,
right, exactly,
yeah,
loud,
is that
soft,
what
loud
I said?
again, and like while also incorporating elements from like the heavier sort of like pounding style that I would bring with Cazador and sort of transposing that, I guess, to another instrument as well, and sort of using post as a platform for me to essentially just broaden my horizons as a musician, both like with my own personal taste and also just technical ability. And so, with that came Alcest and God is an Astronaut and, other bands that I would have never thought like 10 years ago that I'd be like super into and like would buy a ticket to a show to see. Um, like these are bands that like I super respect, like Yakub and all those other bands. So yeah, I did Cazador, got this, and then Chain Pulling Man is like just kind of like a little side thing that I got going on. I just fill in on bass for them. Really, it's a way for me to essentially just play bass just in a different way and to continue
Mhm.
exploring that. And again, sort of getting the rub from both projects and sort of bringing elements of each to each other. But I would say more from a technical standpoint more than a musical one, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
From my perspective, I was in a kind of like indie psych band in college. Played a lot of extended jam kind of pieces, all based around kind of that Mac DeMarco kind of thing that was going on at the time, but a little bit more uh, uh, fuller arrangements, longer songs kind of thing, which actually kind of translates into the post-rock thing now that I think about it. Not necessarily as intricate as what we play, but it definitely has similar roots to that. Um, Otherwise, do a lot of home recording and production. In college I was doing, and after college for a couple years I was doing a lot of mixing and mastering. One of my friends' projects in particular, they go by Super Flirt. I did a bunch of their kind of indie or just straight up pop things, um, and kind of brings me to Lesotho, which is, and I played in some smaller projects here and there in between, but this is definitely the heaviest project I've played in. That being said, I am a huge metalhead still, and like it's just not what I've had the opportunity to play in yet. And I think wrapping it back to like what Cliff said, like living in those extremes and playing in those extremes, and then I'm coming in from the how can I play to the song, or how can I fill in a way where it keeps the Lesotho um, through line and purpose, but still complement in a new way. And I think that comes from my production and recording standpoint, and it's been really fun to play in this context and apply it in that way.
Very interesting spread of backgrounds. Probably one of the more interesting spreads I've seen. I had for Cliff, I'm aware of Cazador. I like them. I had never looked at a photo of you guys.
Listen, I feel like wherever I go in the city, people recognize me. So, like, it's just one of those things. Like, do you play in, or you played in, and like 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes, or like I was at least there and like we linked up or something like that. So, yeah, no, Cazador has been a thing since 2014. So, like, yeah, going on 12 years. Kind of slowing down now. Our vocalist, he actually just flew down to Georgia this week. Actually, he just bought a house down there. We actually still have a record in the works that we actually finished tracking quite a while ago. We're actually in the mixing process right now over at the Bridge. Shout out to Alex. And yeah, I mean, we'll have new music with that coming soon. And we have actually already practiced writing things remotely, which again sort of I can bring elements of that into Lesotho more confidently this time, which I'm super stoked on. Just like I like the fact that like everything that I do that's music related sort of feeds into each other. Like the same way that the center of our spectrum in terms of like taste and background and the center of that Venn diagram is very cool. Like I feel like my own personal Venn diagram is also like It's really
Yeah,
awesome. I feel like I've developed so much more as a musician, especially coming into with how we put together this last record and composed it. I genuinely feel like I'm creating the best output across everything that I could possibly make, which is awesome. And I'm excited to keep pushing. And
yeah.
like especially with this project and this new record, I'm super stoked on it.
So I have a few questions, I guess pertaining to the general concept of having a post-rock or a post-metal band. So you are fully instrumental.
Yeah. I we've had one little spoken word thing on the
And
last album.
yeah, I'll count that.
Doesn't really count. But
Like if you counted that, then like there would be no instrumental post-rock bands.
good point.
Right, right. Very good
But
point.
one thing that made me think is like obviously you don't have lyrics, but it always feels like instrumental post-rock bands still have themes. And do you think that there is a theme that still runs throughout your music?
Yeah, I think like melody is a big theme that just runs through, and like having a vocal, like I guess if we're just talking about like the music in general, like specifically, try to put it into words, I just think the melody in general, and then like sort of runs through and guides all of what's kind of happening in the songs, at least in our songs. A lot of it has like an upper voice sort of register going on throughout, and I think that can act as the vocal, and that happens a lot in a lot of post-rock bands, right? Um, but I think it leans on that more so. So I mean, it goes away from like sludgy music or even like post-metal music in that vein because we rely on it so much to like dictate how the song flows and moves and things like that. I also think the way that we've like composed songs in the past has always been in a through composing sort of way where we're not trying to repeat passages or melodies or phrases from like A B A sort of standpoint. We're doing like A B C D and creating instead of like going back and like looping back and repeating a chorus or whatever we call it. It'll end up being like A prime where it's like a variation on A, and then so that gives enough familiarity in the song to give it like, oh, this is like kind of like a reprisal of the chorus or something like that. So I think in my own way I've been building up like rules and like ways that I can go about writing. And I guess just not necessarily rules, but just like ways that I've found I compose, or write a song, and using that as like a guide and kind of learning and growing in that direction. In terms of like just overall like themes of the album, I feel like a lot of our artwork we've gotten from various artists, but working with Jack Hillside and being able to give them like prompts to work with and think about. I think our last one was really about. I think this one and the last one are very similar, like Through the Dying Light and Flashing on Plain Glass, both like kind of deal with loss and like change and impermanence and things like that, and decomposition as it was the last album sort of theme running through it. So we ended up kind of focusing on that, and that's where the album spun off of. They're sort of both decaying in their own ways in that album cover and a
Mhm.
lot of the art that goes with it. So
Plus the new record's half as
yeah,
long.
What?
So,
yeah,
which is why I feel like, I am 100% on board with that. Like, especially with the impermanence and the decay, just thematically, song to song, you can feel that,
hmm
especially with different melodies and different sort of quirks that you might catch in one track may not necessarily catch in the next one, but then you catch in the one after, and then it's like, oh wait, hold on. These all work as one piece, but then they can stand
yeah.
on their own
That's a
as their
good
own
point.
individual pieces.
It ends up being like this like and I was sort of doing this in that previous band from college where like our albums just ended up like dovetailing one after another, and it usually goes like we'll write one song and then that informs the next and that informs the next and gives us little transitional bits where they're like, oh, that like these fit together just because they're almost in the same like train of thought. they're written in a chunk of time that's like you can't really like separate them too well from one another. They end up being like, okay, this is this period of my life. It's like a chapter kind of thing that
Mhm.
you can't erase or um, go back on it all. It's just kind of like there, and then you can continue to write, but that's like its own, after a while we put out the thing and then there's like a refresh of like, okay, this direction, and then we head in that direction and do that thing. It ends up, kind of creating itself in a way, which I think is really nice and pretty, but it ends up being like kind of uh, takes a lot of like realization and like acceptance in the end, of what you're doing throughout the whole process and trust in yourself and like the process of how we're writing and things in the direction we're going. Because we have all these different influences, right? And they're all coming in and making their impact and what gets voiced versus what doesn't throughout you know, like this one we really leaned in. I feel like this one's like our pop album in a lot of ways.
Mm.
I think it's like um
It's
our
funny
like
that you
pop
say
rock.
that. I agree 1,000%. I
It
really do. Like it's kind of like our catchiest, but also like in
it's
a
got so
way
many
also
hooks
our
and like
heaviest.
yeah, we try to write around these like hooks that these main like catches that would happen in pop songs a lot.
That's
So I think
interesting because
uh,
like I remember when I was first getting into post-rock, a lot it was before like the whole like poptimism revolution. So people are like, this is the opposite of pop. It is long. It makes you think.
yeah, but we're kind of going the other direction. That's why I feel like it's so hard right now because we're going further away from our post-metal sludge
Mhm.
influences and we're going further away from the ideologies that are like post-rock in a lot of ways. We have 5-minute songs. They are hooky, they are brief in a way where
Mhm.
I tried really hard not to overstay my welcome with like any melodies, any parts that are happening. I'm just like let's get in there and make like this really good statement, make it really well said, and then get out, and
That's
leave people wanting more kind of thing
Yeah. I think it
within
can
pop
work
songs.
because God is an astronaut
Right.
is like probably the closest thing to like post pop rock I can think
Yeah.
of. And
Yeah.
I say that lovingly, like All
I
Is
take a lot
Violent,
of
All Is
influence from
Bright is
them.
one of my favorite albums of all
Yeah,
time.
dude, that double kick at the last song is
Right.
like
That
Oh.
title track is
it's
And they
so
still
fucking
do,
good.
yeah, like
That's what I
they could
mean
do
though.
post rock with a pop sensibility and still have fucking blast beats.
Oh, it's awesome.
right,
Exactly.
exactly. And that's the thing. I feel like in a weird way, that's something that like at least like initially that I didn't think about like approaching the music. And then I realized, especially like listening to people like Lana Del Rey, even some Dua Lipa, like,
Mhm.
essentially your go-to mainstream artist, name them, and sort of like understanding the sensibilities of like their compositions, like how they would write songs and like, what draws you towards this? Like, what draws you towards a chorus? Like, in terms of like the cadence of how the lyrics come across or like maybe a specific part of the melody. And so I think really sort of like deconstructing those elements from genres that like aren't even tangentially related to
Yeah.
anything
It's
post.
great.
Yeah, it's a
I
really gratifying feeling when you can nail that in the process of like how Kyle was describing, sort of like capturing a moment in time or an idea in time. It's something where it's like it's so hard to do and you try so hard, but then it happens and then it's like, oh my God, like it's like so eye-opening and refreshing and invigorating. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a high for sure. Like, I think that's well said. Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but yep.
Yeah. One
Well,
thing that,
and
oh,
the
sorry.
last thing I was going to say was a show we played recently. Someone came up to us afterwards and was like, "Oh, I thought you guys were a sludge band," which I thought was funny
Yeah,
because it's to what we're talking about now. Like the band might have started in that place, but we're
that's awesome.
evolving away from it into these new iterations, which is really cool.
That's what was fun about it the whole time, like going from Summer Wars to Through the Dying Light to this. It was like I just feel like a narrowing, a focusing of what we want to do, and like our sound and stuff. It's been sharpened and honed. Like I feel like everybody's doing that as they move through albums. They're trying to do the best work that they can and everything. But this was such like it was like I stepped away from guitar in like 2015 after that band and from college, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And getting back into it, it was like I had never picked up a guitar before. It was like all of a sudden I forgot how to do it, in a lot of ways. And then getting together with Cliff, like from 2017 to now, has been like this big building effort of like piecing together a house that like fell apart and like, but I'm making it completely like perfect
I,
in a
I
way,
I can't even
like,
remember what those initial jams like sounded like. I mean, I'm sure I have recordings somewhere, but like when you and I first started jamming, I couldn't even tell you like off the top
I
of my
gotta
head like
take
what
back.
we were even going for, what were we
I don't
fishing
know.
for,
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
just shooting fish in a barrel. It's just kind of like what it is. And
Right.
being able to like articulate and voice what, you want to say on the instrument, especially with so much freedom being in post rock or the post like genre is.
Yeah. One thing I noticed with the new single Fetch Quest,
Mm.
I really liked it. And I showed it to my dad
Oh,
and he
thank
really
you.
liked it.
Nice.
Oh,
I always show him the post-rock stuff.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank
okay.
you. Thank you. Thank you for
Well,
Yeah.
thank
sharing.
you.
That's awesome.
Um, I realized that like I don't think I've ever seen a post-rock band like try to invoke fantasy or nerd shit.
That's true.
Like with like the cover is really nice with that castle and stuff. I'm like, would I look at that and think that's a post-rock song?
Yeah, no, we're trying to definitely break the mold, I think, with like some of the imagery and stuff. Like just bring in things that we like and not necessarily make it about like post-rock norms, one way or another. Like we could do that. We've done it before too, and it's like we've done it and like and it just doesn't end up being fulfilling, So I like doing this whole like bringing out a side of our personality, like letting it run wild and create something totally different. And that's what Jack Hillside, our artist that worked on those albums, like really like to do. But yeah, that's some nerd shit for sure. I mean, we started off being like, let's make it like a kind of like D&D-esque like kind of thing, and then it ended up being more and more about just like a couple words, like impermanence and decomposition and change, like
Hmm.
those kind of things, especially with the album title, I think informed a lot of that too. Being
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, it's like a flashing on plate glass. It's brief. It's like what you're seeing is always colored by, your perception on something and like and your overall like view on it, is different than everybody else's, but like through plain glass, it ends up being like a true image of like what's actually there, and that's kind of how I see it. But anyway, it gets pretty heady, I think, but also we like bearing it down and like that kind of what we're into and what's nerdy and stuff like that.
And we
Cool.
absolutely are going to be running like a D&D Lesotho
Oh,
themed.
fuck yeah.
You're like, that's going down at some point. I don't care. Like at some point, and anyone who listens to this, you're welcome to join if we haven't done it yet. We'll definitely
We'll do it as a band and we'll like stream it or something.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
That's actually
Maybe
So
we'll do one
fun.
of these, right? Yeah.
That'd be
That's really cool because like I haven't seen too much intersection between the worlds of music and tabletop gaming besides like knowing there are lots of people who are in both.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah,
But
right.
like
That's true.
besides like outside of like some dungeon synth and like very unfortunately Varg from Burzum.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like we need some decent players in that.
Some more representation.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more.
And I guess, sort of like even speaking back to the theme of like some of the compositions, right? Like the song is called Fetch Quest, and it starts with like almost like a galloping sort of like almost I'm on my way, and like a determined vibe. And I think that really was a theme, not only with that song, but with a couple of the others. And we had working titles for the others as well. That were sort of themed in that way where it's like, oh, like this is like this part of the quest. Like this is this part of like the story of the
Yeah.
play. And
It
we
ended up wanting to be like what you were engaging with at that time. It could be like, the fetch quest is that part of it, but then, oh, like Frail Weapon is a part of it too. Like that's one of the songs off the album. That was a
Mhm.
completely different song, but we took the name and applied it to the second song in the album. But it was in that thing where it's like you're relying on a frail weapon. The fetch quest was that initial quest that you go on and things like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, it was gonna evolve from there, but I think we ended up being like, yeah, let's just focus on a more like, we don't want to be too on the nose with things. Like them to be a bit ambiguous, I think is always good.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right, it's really all in your head, right? And like the
Mhm.
things that you're envisioning.
Mm.
And that's one thing about the genre in particular, like just as a whole, that I think draws me to it. It's post, like what is post,
Up,
right?
up for interpretation, yeah,
Exactly. It's really a
which is
subjective
fun.
thing, and your answer will vary from person to person to person. What is
Mhm.
like just regardless, post rock, post punk, post metal, post whatever, right? But
Yeah.
like, what is post? Like, other than like sort of being the aftermath, right?
Mhm.
What does that mean to you? What does it
Mhm.
make you feel? What feelings does that invoke? And it's funny because you could arguably say that like each of our records from Summer Wars through The Dying Light all the way up to A Flashing Plain Glass is sort of like an exploration of a different element of post. Um,
Totally.
a quest
Yeah.
in and of itself.
Yeah, it really is. It's one
Yeah,
big quest.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Album to
always,
album,
yeah,
song to
it's a good
song.
point because when I've at many points in my life I've tried to introduce my dad to post rock, and it generally goes well, and I forget to say I did that. Um, but it's also like the use of the post descriptor, like it does make it hard to describe like what you're going to be listening to because post punk is shit all to do with post rock, but
Yeah,
right.
post
good
rock and
point.
post metal meet in a lot of places.
Right.
And
Yeah,
there
that's kind
and
of
there
the
are quite a
fun.
few
Oh,
bands that really blur the line, including you guys.
yeah.
Same with like Pelican or my
Mhm.
former podcast guest Glacier.
Oh yeah.
They are just crunchy post rock in a way. And then you have like bands like Cult of Luna, which I feel are a little similar, but not a ton. Like it's that stuff like very rude and sludge and hardcore.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I sometimes think like, is it pointless to have this as a label or not?
It's a
Like,
good jumping off
should
point.
we have been a little more granular with it?
Right, right.
Yes.
As if there
I
aren't
think
enough
so.
subgenres, right?
I
It's
know.
like
This is the one time I might, the one
Just a
time
little bit
maybe.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, and like whenever I'm like looking through bands in the metal archives, like there's not quite a post-metal consensus
Mm.
either. And like I've seen very few bands that are just labeled post-metal. They have to say like sludge
Yeah.
Mhm.
or like black and shoegaze at the end.
Yeah. Didn't we do that
Yeah,
for
you you,
like I
you
think
entirely
yeah.
did. But I was
Yeah,
thinking like
absolutely.
what
Yeah.
as we're thinking like what people have had to say about like ISIS and Death Heaven and all.
Yeah.
Right,
It was a
right.
good jumping off point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
it's hard to pin down, really lock in, but
yeah.
yeah.
Not unrelated to all that. How loud do you guys play?
Oh my
Just so you
God.
know, I couldn't tell. I had earplugs in.
Well, that's good. That's the way to do
Yeah,
it.
good thing they were put to use.
Yeah.
So I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
love as a bass player literally playing as loud as I can. Like
mm,
to the point where like I mean and I say this to everyone about how I play the bass like especially being a relative novice when it comes to the instrument. For me it's a very sensory thing. Like I genuinely need to feel like I'm pushing air. I need to turn around and face my cab and literally feel it. Like I need to feel those sound waves hitting me. And like the number one piece of feedback I'll always ask people, after a set is, did you feel it in your chest? Because that to me is like sort of the barometer as to like, okay, like did this make you feel something? Like not only through the compositions and the songs, obviously, that our goal is to have you evoke something from the sounds we are creating, but physically, like have a feeling and have that evoke some sort of emotion or reaction to it. To answer your question about loudness, I love playing as loud as possible, while still keeping it classy and being able to hear things nicely.
oh man. Yeah,
Um,
that's the hard part. I mean, Dylan's been a new addition. I don't know if we haven't even said this, but Dylan's like a new addition to the band. We were a three-piece for like the last 5 years, and he didn't get to play on this album or anything, but the stuff that we've been kind of putting together has been um, plus Dylan, you know, so it's really awesome. And I think like balancing everything has been really great and like eye-opening in a way where like we do the loud, soft, loud thing a lot. So being able to do that with another guitar, go loud, soft, loud, and then back to soft and being very soft, you know, and being able to really tame the beast and have these like melodic lines sail through um, is always like a challenge to, you know, do live and to really mix on the album and make sure it comes through really well and everything's like, you know, the mixing of this last album has been awesome because it was just like m molding this thing and like to exactly the way that we wanted to do. Where before we was kind of just like, yeah, that sounds good, that sounds good, that sounds good. And it's like no, we were like nitpicking it and like really getting granular about it. So it's fun to like have another guitarist on and do that in a live setting and prepare to do that in the studio. But just going from like super loud where you need earplugs to like come down to a medium velocity is like a challenge in itself and really like gratifying. But I think it's like both worlds, you know, that duality.
And has that ever gotten you in trouble with a venue before?
Yeah, I remember like way back in college, we played this bar and somebody threw something at us. Like 'cause we had this song that we had just finished the week before, and it was like cool, but the whole beginning of it, it was like 3.5 minutes of like really soft guitar, like whispering, and we're just kind of like lightly playing, and then you know you like kick in like fully, and like and right when we did that, there's like a bottle or something gets whipped across the bar right at us. Fuck, man, that's never happened to me before. So that was fun.
Have like sound engineers at venues ever argued with you about it?
I don't think I've gotten anything till like after. It was
Okay.
like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
usually they're pretty polite because I mean, what it is I think they just see like how into it they are, and like it's sort of an experience kind of watching us play. So and it's like, oh shit, that was like way too loud, or
It's
like
hard to be like, it's hard to preface that with a sound check a lot of the times. I
Yeah.
find like, what do we have to play like an entire song because of like this part I kick like fuzz and I go up like crazy. I'm not gonna do that in a sound check like a lot of the time. I probably should,
right.
but I just
It's hard.
like
It's hard to get all those
hard.
textures in such a short period of time, you
Yeah, you
know?
get like
It's like we
two
might as well just
minutes.
start the set, right?
Yeah, just like see how it goes, and then
Yeah.
he can adjust. But some of them are just not down. They're like, whoa, what the fuck?
What wasn't there a
We didn't talk about
show,
this.
if I recall correctly, where somebody like left music on the PA like while we played a song?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
always.
I
We
forget
finished the
where that
song and you
was.
hear.
Yeah, and then I like yeah, we had finished the song and like, you know, and then all of a sudden like I'm like
You're like, boom,
I'm like, is this feedback from my amp? Like, am I just picking up radio right now? Like radio waves? Like what's going
yeah,
on?
I thought that was it too.
Yeah, it's like I was like, let me just like turn everything off, and then it was still
Uh,
there.
yeah, it's a head
I
trick.
was like, whoa, okay.
One thing that I wrote I wrote down, it might be a half-baked question. So I was thinking of like, what is the state of post-rock and metal in 2026? Because I was thinking back to the 2000s when I was getting into post-rock and post-metal. It kind of goes hand in hand there. And like, a lot of people were treating it like the future of music. And
Hmm.
like this was back like right before Godspeed You Black Emperor broke up and like all the cool
Oh
indie heads were
man.
listening to Sigur Rós. And like
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
had, it was the
Sigur
heyday
Rós.
of ISIS
Yeah.
and Pelican's best
Oh no.
albums and all that wonderful stuff. And it does feel like those promises of it being the future of music didn't really pan out. But like obviously there are still bands and there's still listeners. I don't know if you guys had any feelings on that.
I think just in general with music, there are so many opportunities to find your people and your communities now where of course that existed in the 2000s, but now post COVID, post rock is existing
Right.
in so many different corners that you can find people, like-minded people, or not like-minded people that are into it so easily, and I'm really grateful for that. And even just being able to explore other genres of music, you can find that bubble. And so even though it's not necessarily the future or whatever. I think there's still a lot of opportunity to cultivate that post rock, post metal community even more.
Yeah, I take a bunch of inspiration from just like other types of music and then make post-rock out of it. It's like a
Yeah.
fucking soup, you know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, like you heard me mention earlier, like I think it's super important to, really embrace your influences and make it your own.
Yeah,
And
you
as
gotta
as
make it
far
your
as
own.
post-rock in general, I mean, it's really tough for me to speak on. I just feel like music in general is so like, kind of like Dylan said, it's like you can find your bubble.
Yeah,
Like
Mhm.
if there's a sound you want to hear, there's most likely someone out there either making it or who wants to make it.
wants to
And
make it.
it's so easy to connect now, especially, yeah, I would say the dawn of social media, but like, I don't know, are we at the apex of civilization? That's another podcast. Um,
We're the nadir of social media.
Yeah, at
but
dusk.
I digress. But in the sense of just being able to connect with people, and I mean, I've been listening to Glacier. I mean, since before I started playing drums with Cazador. Like that's a band that I've known as like a well-established entity, and like to think like now that like that was their early material, whereas like back then, me just being naive was like, yo, this is like a cool band from Boston, and they're making like big and slow, sludgy songs, but like they
I've
have these
never
nice
heard
soft
anything
moments.
like this. Yeah,
And
it's like
now you
new.
kind of see it like kind of cropping up everywhere. I know like one of my favorite bands in the world is Converge, and like I know that they've explored that element. I mean, they kind of always have, but like especially on their like most recent crop of records, they've explored that like Cave In for sure. So regionally, I would say that like I feel like post, right? Just post, like we were saying, like again, a subjective thing that really I guess my version of post, I think, is sort of alive and well in New England.
Mhm.
Whereas, obviously there's guys that we look up to and bands that we look forward to and people making music like Russian Circle, like Russian Circles,
Mhm.
ISIS, Cult of Luna, where there's still output, but it's like not necessarily the same. I almost feel like they're going through their own elements of evolution in a way, which I think is kind of why it took us 3 years to write a record that's half as long as our last one,
Mm.
is because we kind of needed to put in the work to kind of, like, so you
Find the
heard me mention
direction.
fishing earlier, like that's a concept I kind of picked up from David Lynch, the
Mm.
filmmaker, and like how he would go about, like how he would want to visualize something on film. Whether it was like just like Twin Peaks or something else that he may have been working on, was that he would just fish for an idea. Like, he would just kind of just let his subconscious take over, write something down, maybe some influences from different things, and then next thing you know, he's committing it to film and doing different cuts and um, exploring himself. So to me, I sort of feel like, especially post-COVID, that we're sort of in this renaissance, but it's like sort of a more internal renaissance. It's not
Mhm.
something that's as outward. It's outward in the sense of like, people are creating and sharing. But I feel like the Renaissance goes in the method of creating and the method of
Mhm.
expression within that creation. Um, I know that's like super deep, but
No, it's fine. And also like,
yeah,
real fans, they like real post-rock fans, like they stuck with it.
Mm.
Like I'll
yeah,
if I go to any post-rock or metal show, I'll inevitably run into people who are like, yeah, this is my 10th time seeing them.
Yeah,
right.
totally.
Whoever
I
it
agree. I
is.
mean,
And
Jesus Christ. I grew up
yeah.
like with Caspian and everything, and then it's transformed into like, cool, that's great. I'll always go see them, but then I want to like bring in elements of screamo and like, hardcore and stuff like that. And uh like State Vaults has been a big influence. Cliff showed me that band like before we started writing for the album. They were really
So good.
a big influence throughout this one. Mono is a good one that
Ooh.
like I just always really love what they do because they push the boundaries like and I was totally inspired by that new album they had. Um
I was disgusted how long it took me to find Mono because
yeah,
I only
well
discovered them when they
they're
toured with
flying
Alcest.
right. What's up?
Hey,
I only discovered them when they toured with Alcest. And like I had friends going to that show who were like, yeah, I checked out Mono and they weren't my speed. And their
Yeah,
live show was just the most glorious thing. It was
it's so
it was
sick.
all it was like had it almost should have been headliner material, and like Alcest are not slouches live. Like,
No, they go for it. They're so sick live. They're a live
yeah.
band I like super admire.
But
Uh,
like if Mono could have been there without all of Alcest's equipment taking up space,
yeah.
like it would have been so visually stunning. I would have been like twice as locked in. And I already was really locked in.
Yeah. It just would have been like elevated. Did you see
Yeah.
that live like they did like a YouTube video like live or like of their new album and they play I forget it was through some it wasn't audio tree or anything like that but it's just glorious like the stuff they get into the textures they make the drum beats they have like
Mhm.
fueling the song like that drummer is so cool. Speaking of our drummer's fucking awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah, shout
Like
out to
he
Dan.
dude
Yes.
Insane.
huge shout out to Dan. He like helped write these songs, like and he just drove it home on the drums. He got like he just helped lead the way on like this sort of like pop sensibility but post rock. He comes from like um a totally like metal band, Carnivora, which I used to play with in college on my old post rock band. We had a few shows at like VFWs together. And the dude is just like a tried and true, like he's the man. He's the man. He's like one of the best drummers I've ever
Yeah.
played with too.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
musically, I feel like he's pushed me, particularly as a bassist, in ways that I never thought I could. Now,
Mm.
mind you, like, and I feel like we're exploring this space together. Like, so there's this internal exploration with me and my instrument and him with his, and sort of figuring out his way within what we're trying to do with our sound. But that was a connection I felt near instantly, I would say. Being one half of the rhythm section, like where things just fell into place from that first rehearsal,
Yeah, it was
more
like
than they typically would with just like your average, like, hey, we're looking for a new drummer. Well, let's see how it works out. Let's feel it out. Whereas like we were locked in 5 minutes into that first song, it was like, okay, like we're
honestly the
there.
same
We're
same
there.
thing happened with Dylan too. I mean, Dylan got in and was like right in the mix and playing these songs that we've played like 100 times, sounding like he's played them 100 times with us. It was kind of
Yeah.
like that thing where it's like when it works and you find people that it works with, it's just like refreshing and really fun and it all goes, but it's been awesome jam with like Dylan and Dan. They've been like they filled out the band like fully to kind of bringing it to new heights. So super excited about the next things that we write to with them and go
Talk
to.
about someone who plays loud. Dan, like, oh man,
Dude, he's a
I
hitter,
really don't like when drummers just kind of like they're playing, but they're not hitting it,
yeah, it's
And
like
yeah, he is like,
we'll go for it.
oh, it's awesome. It feels great. It adds to the loudness. And yeah, it really feels like everything's running like a well-oiled machine right now. Like everything is just super locked in. It was really fun coming in right after the album writing and recording period because like there's so much excitement around the songs and like the direction we could take them in, um, while like remaining true to what is in the recorded part and then kind of giving a new experience live, which I think people will really like. Like you have this one version of it, and then there's a kind of a addition, like a DLC pack when you go
Yeah,
see it
like
live, which is
a
really
remix
cool.
kind of
So
thing, a little bit. Kind of like a
what's that?
remix a little bit, and
Yeah,
like in a
yeah.
way, like it'll be cool because I think eventually down the road we'll do some like live stuff to like capture the songs in a completely new light, which will be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we can nail like all of our parts at the right volumes and the right textures, like as a four piece, it's literally like the most saddest. It's like, for lack of a better term, you could say it's orgasmic. It's like literally it's better than the record.
Dude,
It's better than
swearing,
listening to
no
the record.
swearing.
Oh, right, right, right. Sorry. But it's just so good. It's like, oh my God. Like, it's almost like, it from that song Epic by Faith No More, like that
Oh
song.
yeah.
What is it? That is it. Like, and I'm like, yo, like we were so there. It was like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's kind of what it was supposed to be, like the whole time, I feel like in a lot of ways.
So on a note from last year. How was Summer Gloom?
Dude, oh my God, the best show we've played.
Incredible.
It was so fun and like well done.
Yeah, like I think Deep Cuts is just like
Dude,
a great space for
holy shit.
anything that's kind of like I get anything that's post-rock, shoegaze, post-punk,
Sounds so good in there.
Yeah, those are our
metal,
people.
I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
those are
get
our
like
people.
you sounded great. Was that the
Thanks.
biggest crowd you've ever played for?
No, we played at the Middle East downstairs for Bloody Wood, and that was like a
Ooh.
five. Well, I don't know how many people fit in there, like what their
I'm pretty
cap
sure the
is,
show
but
was sold out that day, and
Yeah, and Middle East
so whatever.
downstairs is almost 600. Deep
yeah,
Cuts is
so
240.
it was probably six.
Oh,
I don't
that's
maybe
a
seven.
really that's an interesting you and Bloodywood is an interesting pairing, I'm
Dude,
not
we
gonna
did
lie.
So
not
fun
see that
fact, we
coming.
played that show on 2 days' notice, actually. We were planning to rehearse that night. Um, Aaron, shout out Aaron from Grayscale Booking, had reached out because Bloodywood was on tours, their first US tour, band from India. Um, and they were looking for local support. I guess they had a band that had dropped out at the last minute. So I was like, I just kind of was like, yo, Aaron, shoot me a DM and like, we'll see if we can work something out, right? Thinking, okay, let's see if like, let's shoot in the dark and see what happens. Next thing you know, it's like, all right, load-in's at like 5:30,
It
here
was
we
so
are. And
sick.
then, yeah, we show up and to Middle East Down, mind you, I mean, all of us have seen shows there, love
Mhm.
the venue, etc. And like we show up to load in and there's a line wrapped around the building. I've never not been in that line when there is a line
Yeah, like
around the
that.
building.
Yeah,
So to be loading
same.
in for something like that, it was like, oh snap. And yeah, I'll never forget that night. I'm pretty sure I had a heart attack after that set. I'm fairly certain I did.
I'd throw up in your shoes. But I
Dude,
will
Yeah,
say
I was like,
there's nothing more satisfying than seeing a line at the Middle East and getting to bypass it because like you're someone's plus one
so
or
true.
or
It felt
you
great.
got like a press pass.
Yeah.
so that being said though, like Summer Gloom, I mean,
Oh
mind you,
yeah.
this is what we played I believe, second edition of Summer Gloom in 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Oh.
that may have been
That's
the
right.
second edition. So that was when we played at Boynton Yards on the outdoor stage, which was really cool. Um, and that was a great experience. That was our first time sort of working with Steven directly, like outside of like playing with C and other musical projects, like with him as a promoter. And, we really gravitated towards the mentality that they have, which is sort of like, again, like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Like, a high tide raises all ships. We want to see everybody succeed in whatever it is, whether it's a craft, a band, etc. Shows, right? Crystal Ballroom, shout out. Um, so when we were able to do the 2025 version, we were super stoked on it, especially after that first experience. And like that lineup, let me tell you, I mean,
Yeah.
just candidly, I wasn't aware of the band Main era before we had played with them at that show. I checked out a couple of their songs, but like watching them do their set that day, like really invigorated me. I was like, yo, we got to
Mm.
go and we got to crush
Yeah,
this.
we got a rip. It was all they set us up so well. It was
Right.
awesome. And yeah, I'm a lifetime fan now of Main Era for sure.
Yeah, I hope good things come for them. Like a
Yeah.
month after Summer Gloom, I saw them open at the Sinclair, and they're even better.
Oh,
Oh,
I would
I bet.
imagine. Yeah, because they're
That's
also
so
young.
sick.
I mean, I'm an old man
But
at this
like
point. I'm like,
I didn't notice how young I wasn't like up front at Deep Cuts because I was just milling about with friends for most of the
Yeah.
festival time. But I was up front like for that show at the Sinclair, and I saw them. I'm like, oh, you are children.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. They're
yeah.
young, but they're
That
like so
said, bright
talented.
future ahead of all of those guys. Whatever they decide to do in music, if they decide to pursue it, like lots of talent, lots and lots of talent. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, I think that whole 3 days was awesome. Saturday was awesome. Sunday was awesome. Getting to see Sumac like
Yes.
at Crystal Ballroom was an experience. I
I
mean, it's
love that
something
band.
I'll never forget that show in terms of like just the prowess that was occurring in front of us, like just bearing witness to it in like such an intimate setting.
Yeah,
Especially,
You and Sumac on the same poster. That's like truly post metal as a spectrum.
Yeah.
right,
It's so
exactly,
sick seeing our
right,
name on
Somet-
on the same
Sometimes you're
poster.
instrumental, and sometimes you have Aaron Turner.
right.
Fuck yeah.
Just doing his thing, like,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm so glad I got to witness all 3 days of that. It was my
Yeah,
first
that's
full
awesome.
summer gloom.
Fuck
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Hell of a
Yeah.
first one, I gotta say. Damn.
I was very happy for you guys because the numbers were it was like easily double of what like 2024 seemed to
Mhm.
be.
Really?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Fuck
I
yeah.
mean, they did a bang up job. Deep cuts, I would like personally, I mean, I'm fairly confident I can speak for the band when I say like that we consider that our home venue.
Oh, dude,
Like,
it's the
you know,
best
we
like medium-sized thing that we have available to us. Not even medium, like smallish to medium. It's awesome and they're super cool and yeah, like you said at the beginning, super supportive of like the genre and the scene and everything like that. So, man, it's awesome.
exactly. And you know, they like what's cool is that, you know, they have vinyl for sale. They got the pinball tables. Like it's just a chill
Mhm.
environment. The
Super
food there
fun.
is amazing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the mocktails, like, you know, things like that, like
Love a
where,
good
you know, you're
mocktail.
like, you don't think about these things when you're like, oh, like I like playing a show here. Does it sound good? Are the sound guys cool? Do they care? Do they give a fuck? Whatever, right? But like I would just go and hang out here on a Saturday afternoon if
Yeah.
nobody was playing.
I'm sad
That's
that
just how it is.
deep cuts is like, pretty out of the way for me
Mm.
because I would just
Mhm.
hang there.
Yeah.
And like,
Right.
Just
but
pull
this
up and
this
hang
leads
out.
me to a very stupid question. Do you have a favorite deep cut sandwich?
Fuck. I would have to look at the menu. I had one the last time we were there
Yeah,
because we
which
get
one?
those
Well,
half off
the thing is,
coupons or
I can't
whatever.
speak to the sandwiches, but right off the top of my head, those cookies, dude.
Oh, I've
Like,
never had
I
the
don't know.
cookies.
Oh, to die for.
I will say
Like,
that like no matter what you order, they have they have some of the best fries. They're kind of like pizza shop or Euro shop
Mm.
fries. They
Yeah.
have that extra crispy coating.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's whatever place has that. I know they're doing something right. My
Yeah.
I don't eat meat, so my sandwich options are more limited. But their Caesar salad wrap
Oof.
is
Nice.
delicious, and you can fill it with chickpea fritters. And it actually works.
Dude,
Yo,
I love
that
chickpea
sounds
fritters.
bomb, actually.
It is delicious. I learned that I thought like, oh, like I can finish a Caesar salad wrap with like chickpea fritters in it. Like how like I've eaten so many falafel wraps in my life. How could I not do this? And it was like the most oddly filling thing I had ever eaten. And I threw away half of it and I'm like, it's splitting that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that
that's how
a
you know it's a
natural
good
progression, man.
value. It's a good value and
Yeah.
they are feeding you well.
Uh,
I think I
love
might try to
chicken
make
wings.
chickpea fritters. I have some chickpeas downstairs. Not
Dude,
dry though. I don't know if you have to use dry.
They work best when you from dry soak them, don't cook. Because that's how
mm,
falafel's traditionally made. You don't
Right.
cook the beans first. And I've
Exactly.
done it with
Right.
cooked beans first, and like yeah, it's a big difference, not a good one.
dude, I've
Gotcha.
But
done
like,
chickpea
I just
meatballs like recently and it's kind of similar.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I do like chickpea meatballs, but like those there tends to be like another binder in them that makes them a little lighter. And like
Mhm.
Yeah.
falafel's
I
supposed to just be, beans and herbs.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have to use an egg in those because it's just like it'll fall apart
Yeah,
otherwise.
Exactly. Otherwise, it won't.
I
Yeah.
forget what I used for the ones I made many years ago when I first went vegetarian.
Mm,
I haven't tried them in a while, but I think I want to say it was like a recipe from Minimalist Baker or something.
mm.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
yeah, but I think like they have like these chickpea fritters on hand at Deep Cut, so they can make like a chickpea meatball sub.
Dude, that'd
And
be
they're like, oh,
sick.
you can just, and they're like, well, you can add it to anything you want. So I
That'd be
add it
so
to the
sick.
Caesar salad wrap.
That's such a good idea.
I've never tried their mocktails either. I'm lazy. I get a Topo Chico
Yeah. Well,
because they have them
you can't go wrong.
because they have them in glass bottles.
Yeah.
So I
Right, which
feel
is like
fancy.
shockingly hard to find now outside of like the bridge. I like that's one thing I noticed, Kyle. I don't know if you've
Gotta go
like
to Whole Foods, man, or
The
like
right,
no one else offers
enshrification.
just glass bottles like
Yeah,
that. That's
it's the
crazy.
enshrification of Topo Chico. Like if you go to CVS, you can get it, but it's in a plastic
I
bottle.
yeah,
know, and
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
not as
either plastic
good.
bottle or I've seen them in the cans. They're just doing like the regular
The
aluminum
cans,
cans.
the cans I'm fine with.
They're okay.
I drink so much canned seltzer that like, am I supposed to complain?
Yeah.
Right,
I know,
right,
it's
exactly.
I think the only excuse I have for like plastic bottles of seltzer, it's the polar ones that are like 1 liter. And
Wow.
sometimes you do need that much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
for
do.
sure.
Like, yeah, that's what my boyfriend buys because he will go through a lot of seltzer.
Dude,
He can justify it.
I go through
I
it so
just
much.
discovered Spindrift recently,
Oh,
and
no.
like that's like kind of life changing for me. I used
Yeah.
to be a polar guy. I mean, I still am a polar guy. Shout out local heads, but like Spindrift,
Isn't
yo,
Spindrift like at least New England?
I
It's got
think so.
juice in it.
It's funny. I actually haven't looked at that. I like because I'm just fascinated because they use real fruit in them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm looking this up right now.
yeah, there's one that I tried that has passion fruit, guava, and like tangerine. That's like, oh my gosh, like it really like you drink it and you're like, oh snap. But you get that crisp, refreshing seltzer flavor.
So Spindrift
Like
is
I'm
original.
purposefully like drinking slowly. It's that good,
Yeah,
like
so Spindrift is originally from Waltham.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But I think they
Shut up.
have I don't know if they've been like completely bought out or anything, or just like
Probably
got
coming
or if
back.
they just like got a
Stay
lot of
indie forever,
You
funding.
know what the
Spindrift, if you ever
best
listen to
fucking
this.
seltzer is? Canada Dry seltzer. If you ever get a
I
chance to
I
just have it.
have.
It's so
It was
fucking
really
good.
for some reason I found it in exactly one place and it was a hospital cafeteria.
You're like, hit me up. Let's do this.
Which hospital, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it was South Shore Hospital.
Oh, South Shore. Okay. All right. Yeah. That
Yeah, and
tracks.
it was it was legit one of the best. I think I got black cherry and it was like the best black cherry
Yeah, the
seltzer.
flavor, man, it comes through. The bubbles are on
Yeah.
point. I don't know, it's just is like the perfect ratio.
Yeah,
Um,
I like their ginger ale, so I would imagine I
yeah,
like their seltzer, so I'll have to
yeah,
try it. Yeah.
it's exactly like
I
that.
think yeah, I think someone needs to take a fall here. Get admitted to South Shore Hospital and not like whatever your
Well, I
closest
don't live
is.
from
Second,
it,
we'll
so
visit you. Yeah.
Yeah. I also really like Spindrift, but I once poured it into a glass, and because it has real fruit in it, it does look kind of nasty.
yeah, it does look a little gross. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's kind of at the bottom. Actually, what I do is I turn the
Thinking,
can and
yeah,
twist it. I turn it upside down and I twist it around to make sure it's like
it
evenly
was at
distributed.
it was at a New Year's party, and like everyone else was toasting champagne, and I wasn't comfortable with that, so I poured I had half a Spindrift left, and I poured it into a glass, and I realized everyone like, oh, I really ruined the vibe. It was like
Like, why is it so cloudy?
it was
Feel
the
like-
raspberry lime, so it was just like kind of the color of puke.
Right, right,
Even though it tasted tremendous.
right.
It's really good. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the real fruit juice that I'm like, no, I'd rather just have regular seltzer, but I'll drink it. I'll
I
absolutely
think
drink
like
it.
it can't be like a normal hydration beverage.
Mm-mm.
Although
Oh no.
one thing I'll do whenever I'm at my parents' house, my mom has like two very consistent things on our shopping list, which is unflavored seltzer. It's just what
Mm.
she prefers. I'm fine with that. And grapefruits. And I'll just squeeze a grapefruit into a glass and top it with
Oh, yeah.
seltzer, and you get a
Perfect.
refreshing, juicy seltzer.
That sounds awesome.
The
It is
art.
act.
Also,
It is
regular
awesome.
seltzer kind of rips.
I'm
It
a
does.
plain.
I don't
I'm
know
a plain
why.
seltzer guy.
I don't
Yeah.
know
I-
why.
I-
It just fucking hits.
It's so good. And are you on the Soda Stream wave? Do you have a
I
Soda Stream?
am. I just
Yeah.
got a new canister the other day, so I
Nice.
supplemented. I have to buy the fucking bottles and I'm charging the things. I'm like a fucking, it's awful over
Dude,
here.
I broke my canister by accident actually like a few
Like
months
the whole
ago.
thing?
Like it was like on
bro.
a like shelf or a table in here and I knocked it over and then like all of a sudden you just hear hissing for like 10 minutes.
Oh shit, it's gonna blow up.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Do you do the
fortunately I emptied
Soda
out.
Stream,
Everything was
Dylan,
fine.
though?
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
get back on that.
I never got on the Soda Stream train. I get the boxes
Oh, yeah.
of Polar.
Yeah.
It's always
I mean,
Polar.
also great. Yeah. Like it's just the canisters are a bitch and they're super expensive.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
but,
have I don't
mean,
have the room for it.
right.
So we've talked plenty about the new album, but what have you learned from your previous two releases? Like, I guess maybe
Mm.
outside of like music composition, like, what have you learned like in the recording process or even like the promo cycle?
Yeah. So fucking much this time around because we're doing so many like different things that we haven't done. Like at least just for promo, it's like the vinyl, getting things ready to like go has been crazy, creating like little extra things that we can't talk about, but it's been a lot of like I don't know, it's been fun, I realize I enjoy it and like we work really well together in planning these things and like working with other people that it's kind of like a little operation over here now, where we can actually get shit done and do it efficiently. Um, yeah, it's just
Yeah,
super
no,
cool to be
I
able
agree
to
with
finally
that.
do things you've always wanted to do. To learned a lot that it is possible, I guess. It always seemed really hard, like way harder to do, and yeah.
Yeah, lots like, really, I feel like the longer we've been together as a band or like we stay together as a band, the more we sort of like realize how much ownership over like the little things that we have, besides just the
I
music.
know, yeah, good point.
It's like kind of this weird thing, especially for me, and it's kind of weird that I say this because like I was so happy with the artwork on Through the Dying Light, but I believe that the artwork for this record, we worked like very closely with our artist this time. Well, it's still Jack Hillside.
Mm.
And so, I don't know. I just, we felt okay. Like just being like, okay, like like you'll send us something. It's a draft. And then we could be like, no, we actually want this. And then we
Mhm.
send another draft, but then no, it's actually this. Like we felt like we could definitely be more particular and like have more ownership over the process rather than just sort of like treating these people like they're hired guns creating material for us. Um, it's particularly when it came to like the artwork and all sort of like the shoulder material. I mean, Alex to me, he's always kind of been like the silent member of the band when it comes to the production element. And so, for me, just I'm always learning from him constantly, even like when we're just hanging out
He's
at a show or something like that.
our engineer from the Bridge Sound and Stage, Alex
Alex
Allenson.
Allenson.
He's awesome too because I think we grew a lot with him since like because he's done all three of our records. So going in and recording it was like, okay, I know what to expect and I know what not to do w with him. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that I was just like, okay, we went down this road with like certain amps or settings or tweaking things this way or that way. And it's like, I know what I need to do to get ready for this recording session and like especially tone and gear wise and all that stuff and songwriting wise, like making sure everything's there so that we can get the most out of it. Because I remember like the past, like things went really well, things went not so great, like with certain, parts or songs or just, it happens. And um, so we learned how to work with each other like really well and even better this time around to the point where we're just like, kind of feeding off of each other as we go through and record the songs. Like it was just a super fun process. We get in there and like we're all in the live room, like super stoked on these songs that we wrote, and then we track them and we track them to a metronome this time. Um, and that was so it was like super fluid, and we got drums mapped out and stuff, and then we did all like the guitars, and it was just really fun. I think going through that whole process was like pretty seamless, and then just getting to mixing was like a different world. He's using this application Samply, which is like a lossless platform that you can really hear like really well all the tracks. So we'd upload those versions every studio day to it, and we'd listen to it. And what's really cool is you can like go in and like put like exactly at this second I'm referring to this sound or like this tone or this part, like what's up with this spot, and he'll like go and tweak it. And so it's a lot better communication device than like a big Word document with like a bunch of
Right, which is what we did last
like
time, I think, right? Like we
timestamps.
just had
Yeah,
like
it
where
was
we would just
fucking
like
nuts.
edit the document. It's like, well, at this timestamp, do this, and at this
Yeah,
timestamp, do that. Whereas
so
like in
things
real time,
fall
we could
through.
listen and then
Yeah.
like literally just type a comment in. Great piece of software, Samply.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
great. So
yeah,
we did use that a lot in the mixing, and again, like I said a little bit before, was just like it's like molding this thing. It's like at that point we had it so realized of like what we wanted it to be that it was like shaping and molding this thing together, and we just nailed it on so many fronts. I feel like there's obviously things like I wish I did different or learn and more things to learn from in this time around, but it's like just that software in conjunction with working with Alex and the band so much that it was like shaping these songs was like so fun this time around and engaging. Like Cliff kind of said was like we realize how much ownership we have over everything and things like that. It's like we realize we sort of unlock this whole other side of like, oh shit, like I can make this sound exactly how I want it to sound, which is really fun.
Nice. besides the new album, what other plans for the future do you have?
Oh fuck.
We probably can't say too much there, right? We
First.
have more surprises in store.
Yeah.
We'll say that, but the record will be out on March 13th, which is cool.
Oh, wow.
Hint, hint.
It's coming up.
It's
that-
coming
that-
up.
I'm only gonna say that once, so yeah.
Yeah, March 13 is the day. Obviously, like upcoming, we got stuff with Dylan. We're gonna, he's gonna be a new member. We're a 4-piece. It's awesome. We're gonna continue to write, do the whole thing again eventually, maybe in a new light, maybe do some live stuff down the road. Yeah. New
Nice.
places, new things.
Make with that
fun
information
stuff.
what you will.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, 2026. I'm excited. Like, there's a lot to despair about.
Oh,
But,
fuck yeah.
in terms of music, I just feel like, whether I'm talking about Boston or even worldwide, it feels like there's just more and more to really be excited about. And it's very easy to like just drown in new music.
That's fucking awesome.
But to all those listening, mark your calendars.
Once again, thanks to Kyle, Cliff, and Dylan for coming on the show. What a nice bunch of fellas. And you're sitting in the middle of your commute wondering, where's your pithy sign-off? Thanking the audience? Telling them about the new album again? I mean, I agree with all that, but we have unfinished business. What's the opposite of an Irish goodbye anyways? Talking for almost an extra hour with my friends. But that's a special episode for next week. Or next in queue if you're listening to this in the future. That's right, we have a double feature lined up. Part 2 of the interview will be a lot less serious. Maybe something I'll even regret posting. But if you're a real fan, you'll know it's worth your while. Anyways, until next time, I'm Theo Morgan, and we got over 40 episodes of this podcast. At least 10 of them are good. Have a good night.